I want to know, Kyle, like like you talked about the PTSD therapy or training, whatever they call it. What can you go into what that was? Was it just talking it out, like mental exercises to do?
They would just fire guns.
Mental and physical exercises. I would follow her finger left and right, and while we talked through things, and I would also do this thing where I crossed my arms and sort of alternated taps left to right on my shoulders, like that, while following the finger. And she explained how it worked, how it activated, it alternated activating parts of your brain or something like that, while keying in on bad memories and then like washing over them with good memories or something like that. It helps a lot. Like I said, I thought it was quite hokey when she described it, and I was just like, all right, well, they say I got to do it, so I'll do it. But by the end of it, I was like, I think this helped. I feel better about all.
What if it was all part of like wax on, wax off?
Oh, that would have been great.
Like at the end of it, you're just like, follow the finger, and like that's how you get sentenced to less time, like it's some carnival game.
But yeah, I'm glad the whole thing is over. Finally, I'll do some, like, these 2 months of at a dorm or whatever, I'll still, if that's the case, I'll still be able to do the show here. We'll just, I don't know when we'll record it. I don't know what the times will be, but I'm sure we can work around it somehow. Might have to move the upload date even. I don't know, like, and have to record on weekends or something weird like that. I don't know what we'll have to do or what we want to do.
It's only a couple months. We'll get through it.
Yeah, it's just a couple months. And it'll be a couple of months most likely before that even begins. But yeah, everybody's pretty happy over here with how things went. We were surprised I got any time at all, frankly. It seemed like the judge was kind of understanding that the distribution thing was not standard distribution at all, that it was someone smoked some weed at my house a couple times, and that the he was like, how are the firearms connected to the marijuana? And she was like, well, they were everywhere. And he's like, well, I mean, we've kind of been through this. He was a manufacturer of firearms. She's like, well, they were everywhere, and there was an enormous amount of ammunition. And I was just like, well, that's all true. There were a lot of guns, but it was sort of a sticking point, it seemed like, for the judge even to be like, I'm not sure how the firearms are related to any marijuana or anything.
It's like pot. Maybe the pot was touching one of them. So they're like, see?
They were just in the same room or something like that, and they sort of that was literally the connection, I guess.
And by the way, from the first time I was on PKA, I don't know if you remember, but I was like making fun of the fact that you had like a billion guns just behind you.
Yeah.
And even I am someone who's like, what the fuck do the guns have to do with it?
Yeah. They didn't have anything to do with it, and that was sort of the case that my lawyer made in court. He's like, usually when we talk about this sort of like, when we add the guns to the drugs, it's because the guns are being utilized in the drug enterprise. They're being used for intimidation or to procure the drugs or to protect the drugs or something like that. That's not the case here. And I believe the judge even used the term incidental, that the guns being there was just incidental to any drugs being there.
And now that you said that, I think I can say this. I was starting to lead to it before, like, silencer was a point. A short-barreled rifle was a point, if I remember right. But those were legal licensed guns, and it was weird to me that a silencer with a tax stamp on the records, everything above board, was like even worse than another gun. And
yeah, that was part of like the search warrant thing. That's what kind of made things different, was because there were some issues with the initial search warrant that, had I not owned legal suppressors and stuff, that maybe the whole thing could have gotten thrown out because of the way the first warrant was written. But because I did own suppressors, there's this, I can't remember the terminology, but essentially they were going to be able to get a warrant regardless. So even if their warrant was bad, the argument would be, well, we'd have gotten a good one anyway, just based on him having suppressors. So,
which is such a bullshit argument. Like, that's the point of getting a good warrant. You have to get it.
To me, it's like they're legal. Warrants. Legal should be legal. You can't say they're legal, but you know what? Since he does have certain things that he's paid his taxes on and he's above board with, now he's like sort of illegal. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the initial warrant said that they searched my house because I was wearing shorts. I'm not making that up.
What?
Well, were you wearing shorts?
I was, in fact, wearing
Guilty
shorts.
as charged.
Now, wait a second. Were they cargo shorts?
Yeah, because that's
I'm
a
on board.
crime
They were
Yeah,
that
basketball
I'm now
shorts.
committing.
I was wearing basketball shorts.
What was the weather, though?
Very hot, about 93 degrees that day. August.
Okay, that's not as suspect. Look, if you're wearing shorts
I
in the
didn't think
winter,
so.
you did it.
Look,
You
you know, this is the stuff that's been going through my mind and my family's mind and everybody who
Can
knows.
you expand on the shorts thing? Does it make sense if you add context?
No, it doesn't make sense when you add context.
How is that possibly? Did they misspell a word?
No.
How is
Your
that?
Honor, we meant to convey that he sharded.
He had shots?
Yeah.
Those drugs
Yeah,
are
that's what I was
shots,
trying to think
kinda?
of. Like,
There were a lot of things along the way that didn't make sense, and that's part of why it's taken so long for this thing to come to its conclusion. Was that there was a lot along the way. It looked like this thing might get thrown out several times. I think that's part of why we went from state to federal, is that the state wasn't going to be able to really prosecute the case because of, I think, their search warrant, whereas the feds would be able to prosecute a case because of the guns.
Now, Kyle, has this changed your view on law enforcement at all?
No, I've always liked police. I think,
But that's my point.
Yeah, all of the law enforcement that I know personally, really nice guys, that I've always liked a lot. And I didn't feel like I was mistreated at any point throughout my time in the system. There was a sheriff's deputy or two who was just a kind of a jerk. But for the most part, everybody was really professional, and I thought was just doing their jobs. It's really the system that if you have any qualms with the way things work, it's the system, not the individuals.
This is great. Kyle just got fucked over for doing nothing, and Steve's like, "What do you think about the law?" You know what? I think they're spiffy. I really enjoy all policemen in the system, and I felt like I was treated fairly and kindly the whole way. Like,
I have my answer.
I was wearing shorts.
They are cool. I think that they are neat. I think they are fun. I think that
Taylor, blink if they have something on you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Kyle's just writing shit in a slam book.
Right?
No, but Kyle, what I'm saying is that, like, I'm not talking about, like, okay, were you mad at individual cops?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them it's law enforcement. They are enforcing shitty laws. But, like, the idea of the trumped up charges, the charges for shit you didn't do, the fake arrest warrant, the multiple charges for the same thing, because because that way they get you to plead down. The bullshit that this is even illegal in the first place. Like, there's so much of it that if I were in your situation would piss me off. And so what I'm saying is you're fairly conservative. But do you think that this system that we have is bullshit, needs to be overhauled, or you going through it did not change your mind about it at all?
I've always been very sort of progressive, socially speaking, whether it came to marijuana or gay rights or whatever, anything like that. Really, socially speaking, I'm rather progressive. I kind of, if anything, I feel like I'm more of a sort of a quasi libertarian or anything. I always say that. Not only do I believe in abortion, I believe you should be able to use a gun to do it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So like, yeah.
Another death from the new and terrifying bullet method.
Wouldn't that cause 2 deaths?
Yeah,
you're gonna need special baby killing guns.
Now it was a resounding success until the bullet reached the mother's brain.
So yeah. Politically speaking, I'm kind of across the board there. Obviously, I like the guns. Obviously, I like the marijuana, but at the same time, there's not really a candidate that's on board with all that. Bernie Sanders is honestly the closest one to it, and he's a socialist, so it's not like I can vote anyway. So hey.
But I just mean the court system in general. Like, the problem that I have, like, I like a lot of what Kamala Harris says, but the problem that I have with her, and the reason I wouldn't support her, is because of the bullshit she did as a prosecutor. And the stuff about, like, the idea of railroading someone. It's like, well, we're pretty sure he committed a crime, so let's just find a way to make it look like he committed a crime. Like, that's an oppressive system. And so what I'm saying is, having gone through it personally,
my lawyer explained that to me, like, from day one. He's like, these people are in the business, and it is a business of locking people up. You know, it's a machine that puts people in jail, and so you kind of have to treat it that way. Yeah, I don't like it. You know, I didn't enjoy my time going through it or anything like that. But at the same time, I guess I see the necessity for some parts of it. You know, the same things that we're sort of deriding here and saying, oh, that's BS. I don't like that they did that to you. I don't like that they did this to you. Maybe there's a child molester out there or some guy running a pedophile ring, and you're like, oh, they charged him for possession of child pornography under 8 and possession of child pornography under 12 years old. Good. They doubled up on him. So
but I actually don't say that. I think that the penalty for one of them should be just, you know, like the penalty for a child pornographer. You know, you don't need to charge them double because the penalty for one should be enough. But the idea of like putting someone in the system in a way that like it's completely unfair, that doesn't seem like justice to me.
Well, I you know, I don't know what to say. You know, I haven't quite finished my stay with the state or yet. But yeah, I didn't enjoy my time throughout the whole thing at all. But at the same time, I didn't feel like. Again, I felt like everybody was professional and that I wasn't really mistreated and I wasn't sort of. It felt like they were trying to make an example out of me at times, for sure. But I don't know. It worked out in the end. And
damn it, Kyle! How come your life doesn't fit my narrative?
You know, I'm sure you could find a whole lot of people who it would fit right in there nicely. There was about 8 or 9 of them there today, and I couldn't be a judge. I'd be the most lenient judge ever. Like these people had sob stories. You know, like the one girl cried. He gave her 2 years.
Oh, was she also drug related? Because
this was her 3rd methamphetamine offense. Her 3 children are there sitting in front of me. Her mother's sitting in front of me.
Probably just a little meth, though, right? Not a whole diesel truck.
5.8 ounces.
It was actually so much meth that it came out in her tears. That was
she was crying tears of solid crystalline. Yeah,
is that a lot of meth? 5 ounces sounds like a lot of meth.
It's a lot of meth. Yeah,
not 12,000 gallons though.
No, those guys. That was like when my lawyer heard that, he went. Do you remember? He looked at me. He went. He's going away.
Remember, Nate Newton? He was a football player, and he got arrested. He was a guy on the Dallas Cowboys, and he got arrested for transporting. I think it was 430 pounds of pot. And I did the math on it, and I was like, pot's made of leaves. How the fuck much pot? It's 430 pounds.
And he couldn't just take 10 less pounds for the memes?
Think of the memes, Nate. Think of the memes.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's like that's a whole lot.
That might be a box truck.
400 like when I
not quite a box truck, more hedges. Like the back of a pickup truck, maybe though. 400 pounds. The bottom of the bed. It's a lot.
Imagine trying to fill trash bags with leaves until it hits 430 pounds.
How much